What if I told you that the man who built Red Bull's racing empire could be plotting his next move just 30 miles down the road? What if Christian Horner's sudden departure from operational duties isn't the end of his story, but the beginning of Formula One's most audacious power play? And what if this rumor, dismissed by many as paddock gossip, is actually backed by a series of strategic moves that make perfect sense when you connect the dots? These aren't just wild conspiracy theories. They're questions that have set the F1 paddock ablaze, and the evidence supporting this potential seismic shift is more compelling than you might think. Let's start with the facts. After 2 decades in charge and a record that includes 8 drivers' championships and 6 constructors' titles, Christian Horner was relieved of his operational role at Red Bull Racing. According to the official announcement from Red Bull GmbH in early July, Laurent Mekies was named as the new CEO of Red Bull Racing. But this isn't just any era. We're staring down the barrel of a 2026 rules reset, and power unit alliances are being completely redrawn across the grid. This change has become the starter's pistol for a frenzy of maneuvering. Here's where it gets interesting. Teams aren't just building cars anymore, they're building power structures and long-term identities. And when you look at what's happening at Aston Martin, suddenly this Horner rumor starts making a lot more sense. The Silverstone operation has been on what the sources describe as a rapid climb, underwritten by Lawrence Stroll's massive investment. More crucially, they're now paired with a Works Honda program starting next season. Honda's return as a full factory partner gives Aston Martin something they haven't had since the early Force India days: a technical spine and cultural anchor. The timing becomes significant when you consider Honda's driver pipeline. Yuki Tsunoda is tethered less to Red Bull than to Honda, and his future inside the Red Bull ecosystem looks fragile, with Ishak Hadjar being evaluated as a possible Verstappen teammate for 2026. And Helmut Marko's well-known lack of sentimentality about these decisions, Tsunoda's path forward is uncertain. Most 2026 seats are already settled, and the remaining openings favor drivers with either manufacturer backing or championship pedigree. For Tsunoda, that means Honda's path, which soon runs through Aston Martin. Now, let me paint you a picture of why this potential Horner move isn't as outlandish as it sounds. According to Pablo Montoya, who fueled this story, he could see Horner at Aston rather than Cadillac. Montoya pointed to Horner's years alongside Adrian Newey and how that kind of partnership mindset could map onto what Aston is trying to build. This isn't just about grabbing headlines, it's about what sources describe as professionalizing the last 5% that separates regular podiums from sustained title pressure. You don't buy that final step off the shelf, you recruit it. And here's the kicker. Horner already lives within the motorsport corridor that stretches from Milton Keynes to Silverstone. The practicalities aren't complex, the Aston Martin campus is expanding, the wind tunnel is online, and Honda will bring people and what's described as a ruthless focus on power unit detail. A leader who can stitch those assets together, sell the vision to the paddock, and shield the race team from political shockwaves. That profile, according to the analysis, sounds familiar. It sounds like Horner. There's an even bigger story lurking beneath the surface. Max Verstappen has given clarity for 2026, which stabilizes Red Bull in the near term. But the question becomes, what follows once the new rules reveal who has nailed the concept? If Aston Martin hits the ground running with Honda and a car influenced by lessons that people like Adrian Newey have championed for years, the document notes, the gravitational pull on top talent becomes real. Think about it, a driver at the peak of his powers wants a car that matches his appetite for dominance. If that target shifts, loyalties can shift with it. This isn't a slight on Red Bull, it's recognition of how quickly eras can turn after a regulation reset. The broader competitive picture makes this rumor compelling because 2026 represents a clean slate. Red Bull Ford is an unknown quantity today, not because of doubt inside Milton Keynes, but because no one can be certain how the full powertrain and chassis integration will work until the car runs in anger. Meanwhile, Aston Martin Honda has what's described as a clearer shape. It's a standard works model, and that model has a habit of producing synergy when the culture is right. Place a proven team boss on top of that stack, and you give yourself a faster route to coherence. For Red Bull, the immediate challenge is structural. Mickey's steps into a powerful executive seat. Technical groups must stay aligned, and the junior program has to produce a second driver who can live alongside Verstappen without draining points or soaking up strategy bandwidth. Contracts have teeth. Gardening leave provisions exist for a reason. Anti-poaching clauses surround key technical figures. Any move of this magnitude would need lawyers, NDAs, and patience. On the driver's side, Tsunoda would have to stand next to two entrenched names in Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll. A reserve path makes sense in theory, but it still demands humility and consistency from a racer who has built his identity on aggression and spark. None of this requires a collapse at Red Bull or a miracle at Silverstone. It only requires ambition, timing, and a few key decisions to break a certain way. And as the analysis notes, that is how power shifts happen in this sport. Quiet planning, then sudden clarity. A Honda-powered Aston Martin, an assertive hand on the tiller, a Japanese star waiting in the wings, and a grid reset that invites a new order. It's only a rumor today, but it captures the energy of a paddock that can sense another turning point coming. If Aston Martin truly intends to move from impressive project to perennial threat, adding a leader who has already built a dynasty would be the boldest possible statement. The evidence suggests we're witnessing the fault lines that will define the next era of Formula One. Whether this rumor fades or crystallizes, it reveals the seismic shifts already in motion beneath the surface of the sport we love.